the left's decline is accelerating because this has been their playbook. Words you say, we'll take your job away if you don't use the right terminology to misgender somebody. You know, like they're so focused.
Oh, they're so serious about that.
Yeah, that's it. She's like, ponder the words big balls. Like right now we're talking about how much of your money's been wasted by people not showing up to the office for 4 years, and she's offended by the nickname of the dude trying to put an end to that.
We finally beat Medicare.
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death.
Joe Biden's legacy for seniors? He raided Medicare, made premiums skyrocket, and drove up drug costs. Worse, the Biden pill penalty is already slashing the development of affordable drugs, forcing seniors to pay the price of Biden's failed policy. Biden broke Medicare, but President Trump can fix it. Call Congress and urge them to end the Biden pill penalty.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please.
Just a catching strays over here.
You're in for a hell of a show.
Keep the faith, hold the line, and own the libs.
It's time for our main event.
Good Thursday to you, and welcome back to the Ruthless Friday program. I'm Josh Holmes, along with Comfortably Smug, Michael, Duncan, John Ashbrook, a full cast and crew left to right across your radio dial. We are excited. This is a big Thursday episode. We always have a lot of fun on Thursdays.
Yeah, we usually, we have your news, we have your fun and games, and we have King of the Hill on Thursday.
We sure do. And like, you know, you get to a Thursday, and you got a good sense of the week.
Yeah.
How things have played out.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of funny shit involved.
Well, especially in this era for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
You know, every week is just banger after banger. So by the time you get to Thursday, it's just an embarrassment of riches, folks. There's just so much progress on all of these things that he promised in the campaign, and he's just delivering.
He's just delivering.
Right.
Yeah, and on Tuesday's episode, I mentioned to you, Holmes, that last week we talked about how he has basically made a list of everything that pissed you off over the last 4 years, and he's just ticking it one by one by one. I couldn't remember the item on that list that caught your attention, and it just sprung to my mind: plastic straws.
Yes.
Yeah.
Donald Trump has said, no, you're allowed to use plastic straws again in America because this is America.
Yeah, right.
You know, I also saw something on that. So the whole story of like these things kill turtles was apparently some kid's like 4th grade science project.
Fourth grade.
And then it's been disproven since. But all of America for years is having policy pushed on it because of a 4th grade kid's science
Dude, the whole
project.
DEI industrial complex is based off a flawed McKinsey study that has been proven to be wrong.
What is so amazing is that, so Trump's been in office, what, 3.5 weeks? And like what you find out about the last like 6 or 8 years in terms of what the left is pushing, ever since Trump was elected, essentially, the left starts taking over all the institutions in our country and pushing all these narratives and whatnot. And it what you find out, we're not that different than we were in the heyday.
Yeah.
Like all that shit was nonsense.
But Trump had to come around to create the permission structure for normal, regular people to be like, yeah, we don't have to do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, I mean, and that's what this is it unapologetic.
Right.
This is who we are. We're just going to live like everyone was comfortable living for a while.
Yeah.
Which is great. And that's what we talk about here on the Ruthless Friday program, which is why we encourage you to like and subscribe. Unlike a lot of programs that you are going to watch left, right, and center, we're not sponsored by a bunch of like left-wing fucking lunatics that are going to spend $50 million on a VC.
Yeah, we're not pot safe.
Yeah.
George Soros doesn't have an ownership stake.
Or we don't have like, you know, any sort of like Chinese money rolling in here. These are 4 guys who put a USB mic in the side of their computers and decided to have some fun. So gratified that so many of you have joined us along the ride over the last 4 years. And I'm telling you, Wolf says, we're like, 2,000? couple thousand away from 100,000
100K
subscribers,
on YouTube.
which is just the YouTube part. We've only been doing this for a year and a half. You should see the audio side. The audio side is remarkable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is we love to see it, but if you can help us,
Yeah.
by liking and subscribing and sending along to your friends. First of all, Smug gets a plaque.
Yeah, and when you hit 100K, you get the plaque. And so, like Holmes said, is we started this as a group of friends, having a chat, having a drink, having a good time, and talking to you folks. And the fact that we've almost hit 100,000 on YouTube, I could not be more grateful.
Yeah. No, it's fantastic. Should we get into the shit?
Let's get to it.
I mean, this show is jam-packed. We got a lot of really fun stuff, and as he said, we're going to play a game in here, too. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Get ready to laugh. Part of topic one here, fellas, it's just like the accelerating of the decline of the left.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're doing it to themselves.
They are.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so great to watch. But like Democrats and their media allies, this is a story, or actually something that Siraj, our boy Siraj, tweeted out. Democrats and their media allies continue to spiral as their tired strategies fail to slow down Trump. Let's watch clip one and just react to it, and that's where we'll kick it off.
Oh, which side are you on?
Come on.
Which side are you on?
Are you serious?
It gets better.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on? We'll fight against Doge.
Come
We'll
on.
fight Elon Musk. No Elon scab within our walls. We'll fight from dawn to dusk. Oh, which side are you on?
All right, so hold on. That group is a like public employee union
Right.
group, doing it in the middle of a workday, of which Donald Trump and Elon Musk simply asked that the people that work for the federal government show back up their desk and do their job as it was intended to do. They can't stay at home. They can't do whatever. And these guys are going to protest that by showing up in the middle of a workday to sing an anthem from Union 1950.
Yeah, I mean, that song was actually written by Florence Reese, a social
There it is.
activist. I think it was back in the 1920s.
It was in Kentucky, right?
Yeah, well, it was popularized during the Harlan County War
Yes.
by Pete Seeger, who covered that song. But, those folks in that labor dispute, it got violent and ugly. Those were hard scrabble coal miners.
And also-
like these people haven't got a callus on their hand since they got a paper cut from filing papers. It's hilarious to think these people consider themselves like the coal miners in Harlan County from the 1930s.
These people put coal miners out of work.
Yeah.
They did. And the best part about it is that they were all offered 8 months of paid labor.
Yeah.
Like they didn't have to do anything. They just go home. We'll give you your full salary, whatever pension you're entitled to, all of that stuff. And they're like, that's just like the coal miners.
And here's the thing.
You've done that just like the coal miners who, by the way, we tried to put out of work.
We're discussing the collapse of the left, and like you said, this is a choice. They are saying, which side are you on? They're like, we will fight Doge. They're fighting government efficiency, being like, everyone get on our side, right? Don't save taxpayer money. It's like, how the hell did Trump get into a situation where he's just common sense and his opponents are like, no, we must waste taxpayer money.
right.
It's
Well, what was that old quote, that Voltaire quote?
Yep.
It was like, I
I prayed only for one thing, that my enemies be ridiculous. And Trump has gotten that.
That's
100%.
it.
Yeah.
That's what's happened. It's like he's good. No question, he's good. But his superpower is making his enemies ridiculous.
Well, I think the acceleration of the spiral that the left is in right now is because it actually kind of worked the first time against Donald Trump, and it ain't working anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Like the American people are much more comfortable with Donald Trump as president of the United States this time around. They cried wolf. They tried back in 2017. They said he was a puppet of Vladimir Putin in Russia. And people bought into that bullshit. and it was wrong. And so this time, their bullshit detection meter is much, much, much higher, and that's why they're flailing so much.
Not to mention, they're proving the need for government efficiency because they're doing this in the middle of the workday where they're being paid by everyone who's listening to this show using a microphone that's funded by a union that was funded by everybody listening to this show.
It's unreal.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
It's genuinely remarkable.
It's beyond parody, really.
It's beyond parody. And like I was doing Fox last night, and Brett put on the thing that Elon was talking about, the limestone mines.
Yeah.
That they keep, apparently, the records of everyone who's worked in the federal government. They file like it's 1952. They take them physically, papers.
It all has to be printed.
And they take them and they put them in a limestone mine in like West Virginia, or somewhere,
like that,
Pennsylvania.
It's
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. It's like the end scene in Indiana Jones, you know, where like they're putting in the Ark of the Covenant in some box.
He was like, they told me that no more than 10,000 people can retire from the federal government at any given year because they can't actually file it. Think about that. If ever there was an advertisement for government efficiency, it's that they're literally saying we have a cap on the number of people who can leave the government because we got to take these red rope folders down into a limestone mine.
It's
like
unbelievable.
what? Like no, just put to wrap your mind around that.
Like
for a second.
imagine that as a defense of the status quo of government, right? And it goes back to that, you know, the discourse around Politico Pro and all those subscriptions that all of these government agencies had to get analytics and access into like what the government's doing. And my question in all of that is like, aside from the cost of like getting Politico Pro for all these agencies, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars per subscription. Like maybe the better question is, why does our government not know what our government is doing that they have to pay someone to find out what they're doing?
That's a good point.
Great point.
You know what I mean? And like that is the whole point of Doge.
Yeah.
It's like there are real inefficiencies in our government that are not defensible. Like you cannot defend this bullshit.
I mean, just this one example is hard to wrap your mind around. It's like that scene from Office Space where like, so what do you say you do around here? It's like, well, I actually physically carry the... They're like, we can't afford to have more than 10,000 people retire. We have to keep paying them because we also pay a guy to print out a sheet of paper, take it to a limestone cavern. He's got to have a job too.
Well, like, here's the thing. I don't expect the guy who physically grabs the red rope and walks to the limestone to self-report. Like, it's a gig, right? He's probably living in the central Pennsylvania area. He's going to drive down once every 6 months, pick up some folders, and roll them to the limestone. But, like, if you're in charge of that, and my bigger question is, the entire government, the way of getting around whether you have wasteful spending is putting inspector generals at each and every agency. And so for the last like 30 years, there's been people who are serious, like they have to be confirmed, I think, inspector generals of each one of these agencies. What the fuck have they been doing?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Like who signs off on that and is like, you know what, this is the best way.
I mean, think about the whole chain. There's a person who prints it. There's a person who has to run a mailroom to then send it to Pennsylvania. There's got to be a person who grabs it from a mailroom, then files it over to deliver it to the guy who drives it over to the limestone cavern.
Right.
And then there's a guy there waiting for it to then file it away. These are jobs
But
to
also-
take a sheet of paper.
What I think is very important for people to remember is you are paying for each
That's
and
it.
everything along that supply chain.
And-
The mine
and-
belongs to you.
Well-
You're paying for this mine. You're paying for the elevator shaft. You're paying for the operators. So of course people are like, wait a minute, what am I actually getting in return for what I'm
Well, if you
charged
spent 20
every April?
years being the guy who picks up the red ropes and marches him down to you're paying him full salary for the rest of his
yeah,
life.
you're paying his pension too.
You know, if you've ever wondered why it is that the vacation homes around where it is that you live are all by people who are like public servants, well, there it is.
I think what it
Yeah.
reveals is how much institutional resistance there is to change in government.
Yeah.
And that the easiest thing to
a
do,
business model.
if you're those inspector generals or whoever who's overseeing these programs, like you ain't going to get fired for saying it's all good, right? That we're doing it the best we can.
Yeah.
and requesting the same amount of budget from Congress for the next year.
Yeah.
Right? No one got fired doing that.
Yeah.
So why would they? And there's this don't upset the apple cart mentality to government employment that is like the entire reason why Doge and Donald Trump are so important.
Oh, it's just, I'm so happy.
Yep.
This is like, for those of us who spend any time in government, we spent most of our time wishing and hoping that a scenario like this could ever be presented. We just didn't think it was possible, right? And they just were like, the rules, we don't do rules. We're just going to do this. We're going to do Doge. And when I see Elon with his kid in the Oval just sort of winging it and telling them about how they went into some agencies and all of the government computers that they or phones that they took a look at all still had Trump administration information on it because nobody had been into the office since then.
You mean Biden administration?
No, Trump. They hadn't been
Original Trump.
Original Trump.
because in the years since, none of those
My
government employees
God.
had even shown
They
up.
didn't even show up. They didn't even show up. Wow. Like, that's a breathtaking thing. And, like, I just don't... I'm
4-year vacations?
4-year paid vacation, paid by all of you, dear listeners.
It's amazing. But it keeps getting... So, but, like, he's also creating this whole media thing, which I find completely hilarious. Can we play clip two?
Take a deep breath for just a moment and ponder big balls.
Meanwhile, that's what they're up to.
That's the other thing they're doing. It's like the give a fuck factor is zero.
Yep.
They've got this guy Big Balls. We covered him on Tuesday. But they've also created in the entirety of the primetime lineup of the Democratic left, the things that, like, I don't know, I guess a couple 100,000 people listen to. They're talking about Big Balls.
Yeah.
Just wait for a minute and ponder Big Balls.
Yeah. Take a deep breath. I think
Big balls.
And, I think this, again, goes right back to the overarching theme of the left's decline is accelerating because this has been their playbook. Words you say, we'll take your job away if you don't use the right terminology to misgender somebody. They're so focused.
Oh, they're so serious about that.
That's it. She's like, ponder the words big balls. Like, right now, we're talking about how much of your money's been wasted by people not showing up to the office for 4 years, and she's offended by the nickname of the dude trying to put an end to that. It's staggering.
It's staggering, but also like all the names that have like tumbled out now with Big Balls, and like it was like a 1990s prank phone call, or like
that
how
the origin story?
How I used to make dinner reservations in the early 2000s.
yeah. Hey, would you blow me?
Well, that was the one that I saw today. There was a guy named Haywood who was testifying before the Doge committee, and I was like, I'm shocked that this guy's last name's not Jablonski. I mean, it's fantastic. I don't know. Everything is great, but there is so much more and so many laughs in this next section. You are not going to want to miss any of it because it just continues. We'll get into it right after this. I don't have to tell you Americans are ready for what's next. Moving beyond the hardships of inflation and economic anxiety towards building a future, a better future for our families. Ensuring greater access to more affordable energy that powers daily lives, reliable energy that fuels innovation and economic growth, and the abundant energy that keeps our nation safer and more secure. It's all within our grasp. We'll do this together, building a brighter future for us, powered by America's oil and natural gas resources. You can learn more about all of this at api.org. All right, so we should probably just stay on the fact that these people are losing their minds.
Yeah.
There's only so much you can do, honestly, if you're thinking about the way that Trump has proceeded in the first 2.5 weeks. That it's great and people love it. That's why he was elected. But it wouldn't be just in the echelon that it is unless you have opposition that are firmly standing behind it. And they're like, no, don't do these things. We've got a series of things to set up on this. Everyone, you're going to love this. Let's do clip 3, please.
$59 million spent on luxury hotels. It's actually not...
Talking about the FEMA money that was abused for migrants? That was
Yeah.
FEMA money for migrants, that's okay now?
No, I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not saying it's okay. Don't put words in my mouth.
So would you stop that? Would you stop that process?
Don't be a dick. The portrayal. What I'm saying is the portrayal.
Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
CNN.
Right.
Sununu. So we know Sununu. We've done a lot of stuff. This is not a dick.
Right.
Like, he's probably one of the more reasonable
Middle of the road Republican.
human beings. Like, one of the reasons why he's on CNN, right, is because he's one of those guys that talks left of center, right of center, and has that constituency. He can't have it. Anderson Cooper can't have it. He's like, don't be a dick.
Also, it's funny because to Anderson Cooper, $59 million is not a lot because he's an heir to the Vanderbilt fortune.
Yeah.
So he doesn't give a shit about
But
$59 million.
it's just what it reveals in all of these things is like their position is indefensible.
Yeah.
You know? And so Sununu saying that is frustrating to him because, like, you know, these panels are supposed to be there's one side and there's another side. There isn't another side.
Yep.
There isn't another side.
Not in the American public.
It is not defensible. And Donald Trump, to his credit, has spent this first month of his administration finding every issue that's an 80-20 issue in this country, and he's been on the 80% side.
Totally.
Real quick, just to touch on that $59 million, when Sununu brings up rightfully, and everyone by now has probably heard the stat, that $59 million went for New York City in Midtown, some of the most expensive hotel rooms, $700 a night, to put migrants, people who have broken the law, entering our country illegally, many of whom are continuing to commit violent crimes, getting free hotel rooms every night in some of the most expensive real estate on earth. And FEMA didn't have a dime for folks in Western North Carolina who lost everything. These are U.S. citizens. These are Americans who were given nothing by their government, by FEMA, and it was given and spent on migrants, $59 million. That's an outrage.
And as Elon said yesterday, at a rate that was roughly double what a room occupancy rate would be ordinarily.
Because that's the thing is these hotel owners love this game.
They love it.
They're like, oh, I can be guaranteed my hotel has every room occupied at twice the rate. Do it.
No problem.
Let's run this.
No problem. I mean, you understand it because they eliminated New York City for 2 years.
Yeah.
Right? And all the people that moved out of it and everybody who didn't want to do conferences and all the things that they ordinarily did in New York because Democrats ruined the city, introduced crime, the whole COVID backlash, everything else. And so you get a hotel, a luxury hotel. It's like, oh, wait, you're going to pay me double max room occupancy? I don't care who you put in that joint. That's a business decision.
Yeah.
Right? I don't even blame those people. Because they're like, you ruined every other way of my life.
Dude, New York had to hire a consulting firm and pay them millions of dollars to figure out you should probably put trash in trash cans.
He's not joking.
I'm not joking. This is a serious thing. It's like, oh, wait, we shouldn't just like throw trash in the street? Oh, man, novel idea. All right, millions of dollars.
Oh, dude, thanks, man.
I'm going to pay this invoice.
Oh, thank you so much. That's awesome. I appreciate that. All right, clip 4, if we get into this. This is one of my favorites.
I've been told I have 30 seconds, so I am going to tell you that we do have to. I don't swear in public very well, but we have to fuck Trump.
Lady.
Let me just say, lady, I don't think you're his type. I don't think you're his type.
I mean, didn't they say that they were going to go on strike when Trump won? Like, I guess the strike's broken. Like, Trump...
I mean, I knew they were frustrated. I didn't know they were sexually frustrated.
I mean, was that like just a call? Like she was flipping teams all of a sudden?
Maybe it was a Freudian slip.
Maybe she was like, I am with Doge.
Yeah.
I am with Doge. I'm going to fuck Trump.
I saw the tax savings, and what can I say?
I just don't think, like, lady, just grab a mirror. The Melania comparison is not a kind one to you. Clip 5, please.
We are 3 weeks into the second Trump presidency, 3 weeks, and tonight there are warnings that the U.S. is dangerously close to a constitutional crisis. Now, the first shoe on this dropped when a federal judge today said the White House is defying his order to unfreeze billions of dollars in federal aid.
Why do they? Here's the thing. I know Caitlin. We all know Caitlin. I think she's smart. I think she's good. She obviously has her CNN gig. Why would any producer make her do that? Like, why would anybody write that? it's a constitutional crisis for spending to be examined in this country. Like, it's not just a leftist talking point, which it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's also dangerous.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna toss this alley-oop over to Ashbrook, but a key point here is that's editorializing when you're supposed to be just straight news.
Right. I mean, and that's what people want. People are opening up the newspaper. People are going to evening newscasts to get information, but that's not what CNN is giving them. And I'm of two minds on this because CNN's content is so dunkable. It is so funny for people like us. I don't want them to stop. And regular people out there know the gig. You know, what they may not know is the person who runs news at CNN is very close with Kamala and Doug Emhoff and everybody else. But they don't care. They're like, yeah, give me some CNN clips so that I can laugh about them in the day. And, you know, it's very funny. We talked about this on the show, but their viewership is lower than all of the clips of Scott Jennings dunking on them in those Abby Phillip panels.
Which is amazing.
Stylistically, though, I mean, just as an artiste.
Yeah, please.
I gotta say, pretty dissonant audio mixing there to start that clip. We've got like hopeful orchestra music, and then it's like constitutional crisis. Can we actually play that again, Spaghetti?
No, I gotta get into this because I missed it.
Just watch it again.
Let's do this.
We are 3 weeks into the second Trump presidency.
Oh, it's like maybe this is positive.
And tonight there are warnings that the U.S. is dangerously close to a constitutional crisis.
Yeah, see, like they screwed it up. They screwed up the sound mixing.
Here we are in Washington. We are doing good things. And then it's like
crisis. I'm so angry. It's like, what are you trying to do to these people?
By the end of this sentence, you will not have a country.
Yeah, it's like the way you start. Like, all right, here's the weather.
And can someone cite what part of the Constitution says thou shalt waste taxpayer money? Because I don't remember that. I was never taught that part. Constitutional crisis? What are they talking about?
Well, it's just so incredible because it's coming from the same people who, like, you know, staged violent protests in front of Supreme Court justices' homes.
Yeah.
And like those are constitutional crises. Yep. That's what that looks like, you know? And like the idea that you have a disagreement about spending policy in this country has somehow enveloped the left into saying constitutional crisis. I mean, look, I understand some of this stuff is being litigated in court, but the idea that you can't look at fraud and be like, hey, that's fraud.
Right.
Let's not do that fraud. And they're like, oh my God, it's the end of democracy.
And also CNN, like, your audience pays taxes too.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. The funny thing is, and I feel bad for the people who are just like constant CNN viewers or MSNBC viewers because the information they flow is just not accurate. It's just not good. Like they're actually probably just in a constant state of anxiety.
They have to be at risk for like traumatic brain injuries. If you're like all day long getting this?
They have to be. When in actuality, the W-2 form that they're filling out and the taxes that they pay are the only thing anybody's looking after here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's really the only question that you should have on your mind is whether or not you're getting for your tax dollar what you paid for.
Right.
Because that's it. There's not like Elon Musk, a billionaire. Oh, he's a billionaire. He's stealing he's a thief. Yeah, he wants your fucking money. He builds rockets that fly to Mars, for Christ's sakes. Right. This is like that guy is interested in your $24 Social Security check? No, dude. He wants to make sure, as he said yesterday, that a 175-year-old American is not getting a Social Security check because you know why? Your kid who's 35 is probably not going to get a Social Security check as a result of him not looking for it.
Right. That's such a great point.
That's it. Mm-hmm. And like constitutional crisis. Oh my God. What will we ever do? God bless it. These people are fantastic. The content.
That's the thing.
Content. You have no idea what the pre-production. We used to like not have pre-production. In the Biden years, it was like, what happened? Well, nothing.
Yeah.
All right.
He was asleep.
What game can we play here on the Ruthless Friday program to try to keep people entertained because the guy was asleep again all day? And now every day it's like we're in a meeting. We're like going through. We got 20 topics. You should see what hit the cutting room floor. We could do a whole another 2 hours on it.
Yeah. The Trump era is like red zone.
It is.
Really,
There's so much
like
going on. There's so much going.
It.
It's like it's like you got Scott Hansen or Chris Hansen, whatever his name is, and it's like touchdown. All right, we got to go to another place. Touchdown.
Yeah.
And it's like Elon found 40 billion here. Oh look, 60 billion there. It's like, oh, there's a quarry in Pennsylvania, and every piece of paper on a government worker's there. And it's like, holy shit! How we could do an episode every hour.
Except every team that they flash to, your first round draft pick is scoring.
Yeah. And they have them on your fantasy team.
And they have them on your fantasy team.
And CNN's interpretation is no, you're not allowed to look.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
You shut up your dumb face.
Exactly. Impermissible. You're not. It's unconstitutional to ask your government to spend your money wisely.
Don't have fun and laugh. Don't do that. All right, so our question of the day is, in their moment of darkness, what's the best troll to make it even worse for them?
This is a
We've
good one.
seen a lot of great trolls about, just rolling something out to the left that just makes them lose their mind. The guy who's like most susceptible to it is Chuck Schumer. Like whatever it is, how minute, if it originates on the online right and like rolls anywhere close to his office, he does a press conference on the damn thing.
Oh, yeah.
And like within an hour, it's like, well, none of this shit was
Well, it was like
real
when
or relevant.
Chuck Schumer unveils this website of like, if you can uncover any like government corruption or any danger, please fill it in here. And then it gets filled with conservatives being like, so there's this guy, Chuck Schumer, who threatened the lives of Supreme Court justices. You should look into this.
Oh, my God. So good. So you got to put that like and subscribe. If you like and subscribe, we're going to get your stuff here in the next program. We'll talk all about it. Coming up next, we're going to have your answers to last Tuesday's question. It was a good one. It was, if Kamala Harris had won, what would she be doing right now? Stands in great contrast. You have great stuff right after this.
As President Trump begins his new administration, one of the top Democrats in Congress aiming to undermine the Trump agenda is Chicago's Senator Dick Durbin. And now Senator Durbin has a new scheme, a government takeover of your credit card. Today, Americans have thousands of choices in credit cards, all with equal, strong security. But Senator Durbin's plan will result in less competition and less security. And that means more risk for your credit and your identity. Tell Republican senators, stop Dick Durbin's government takeover of your credit card before it's too late. Learn more at www.guardyourcard.com.
Okay, so our question of the day from Tuesday that we read on Thursdays is, if Kamala Harris had won, what would she be doing? Everybody's talking about what Trump is doing, but imagine just in a different parallel world.
Yeah, in the bad place.
In a bad place, and you got great comments, but to do that, we always start with the voice.
And as Josh said in the last segment, if you want to comment, if you want us to read your comments, like and subscribe. Like and subscribe if you wish to opine.
That's
we
right.
coined that phrase. And here at the Ruthless Variety Program, the first comment comes from the Cookie Army. And the Cookie Army writes, Kamala would be pretty busy if she were president right now. She'd have to address California wildfires by giving government funds to Newsom so that he could redirect the last of LA's water to the ocean to save a guppy.
That's terrific.
Then she'd have to oversee her transportation secretary to ensure that the FAA was expanding their DEI program to include blind air traffic controllers.
Trans secretary.
Trans.
Is pretty good.
The trans department.
The trans department.
The trans department.
A good friend of the program, Charlie Hurt, who is now an esteemed co-host of Fox and Friends.
Yeah, he's really made it up in the world.
He has. Over the weekend, he was asking about the trans department, and I thought that was quite funny.
It was very good. It was not unintentional by Charlie. Let's go to comment 2 from Dunks.
This is from John from Bayside. If Kamala were currently president, she would be tripling funding to America's great small businesses, the Washington-based NGOs, creating a new executive agency so USAID could focus on directing its grift to worthy organizations overseas.
That's so good.
Well, the transsexual population of Tanzania is burgeoning.
Must be studied.
They need to be studied and they need to be represented.
Their efforts on climate change can't be ignored.
No, that's what small business is in our world. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. Smug, what do we got?
Comment 3 is from Lorinda Leach. Lorinda writes, if Kamala was president, thank God for the hypothetical, after 3 weeks, she would still be pondering what could be unburdened by what has been. Riding around in an armored school bus. Because that was great. Because we all know how else she gets over a good school bus, according to Chuck Schumer. While pondering what day or if every day should be designated as National Wine/Wine Day.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Oh, that's
like
good.
that.
That's good. Wine and Wine Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is definitely
She'd
what
absolutely
she's got
have that
on.
going.
Well, is anybody tired of winning yet? The wins are stacking up here, and we've got some new additional accomplishments that may have missed your radar, unless you're listening to the right stuff, you're watching the right news. You're probably not going to see this in your local newspaper. We're going to get to all of it right after this.
So we just got some big news from Americans for Prosperity, the most effective grassroots organization in the country. They've just launched a massive $20 million campaign to protect your hard-earned money. Here's the deal. If Congress doesn't act, the Trump tax cuts will expire. That means families could pay $1,500 more in taxes next year. We all remember the benefits of those tax cuts: more money in your pocket, higher wages, and thriving mom and pop businesses across the country. But Bidenomics has taken us backward. Record inflation and rising costs mean families are paying over $13,000 more per year just to make ends meet. Now is not the time for higher taxes. That's why AFP is unleashing its grassroots army to protect the tax cuts with hundreds of local events, millions of voter contacts, and direct pressure on lawmakers. Join the fight. Visit protectprosperity.com to demand Congress renews and strengthens the Trump tax cuts so we can reignite the American dream. That's protectprosperity.com.
Okay, so this is interesting. So Goldman Sachs, there's a lot of financial companies that built in this sort of resistance left to the first Trump administration, an entire industry model that was basically DEI enabled. And these things are falling fast. We've covered this a little bit. Interesting, though, Goldman Sachs, right? We're talking about blue chip name here. Walked away from it. Can we get clip 6, please?
So it effectively was supposed to be the end of the all-white straight male boards. They even upped the ante and made the requirement 2 for companies that they were taking public in Western Europe and US. Well, today they've formally confirmed that they have backtracked. We've already seen 1 or 2 companies where that policy certainly slipped away. And you have to see what's happening in the broader environment. There's obviously everything that you've seen change since Donald Trump re-entered the White House. There was, of course, the NASDAQ board diversity rule that was killed in the Fifth Circuit as well. All of these things played a fact, and this is Goldman just acknowledging, and this is a nod to the time that we're in.
Finally, Bloomberg bringing the facts with the real reporter.
I mean, this is insane because, now that we are in the golden age, it's crazy to think back. There was a time when a company like Goldman Sachs could openly say, because they do M&A, mergers and acquisition, that we will not take a company public, which means we will not help get them listed on the stock market if their board is white people.
Mm-hmm.
That was considered okay.
Yeah, I mean, as if that's not racism. I mean, that's the definition of racism. It also sort of just makes me sad, that we went through a period in American history like this, where there were companies as powerful as Goldman Sachs, and I know of 2 personally of people who have gone through this process, where they had to put 2 or 3 people on a board, one of them wholly unqualified, it didn't work out. They ended up suing the company, creating a huge problem with the merger and acquisition because they forced a person who was not qualified into the position. And there's not a single African American in the world, woman in the world, gay person in the world who would want the opportunity to be like just an add-on to a multi-billion-dollar acquisition just because of what they were born looking like or acting. You know what I mean? It's just like their sexual preference is certainly not a part of whether this company succeeds or doesn't succeed. But we went through a period in history where that was a real thing.
And then conversely, like
fucking crazy. It's like you look back. We're going to look back at this, like we look back on Bull Connor.
Yeah,
we really are. Honest to God, we really will. And nobody wants to hear that, but that is true. We will look back on this and say, I can't imagine how nobody thought this wasn't the most racist that we could be.
Because it reduces people down to attributes, and it's a caricature.
Yeah.
It's a caricature.
And conversely, in his autobiography, Clarence Thomas writes, he's always hated affirmative action and this DEI stuff because when he would walk into a room, he wanted everyone to know he's there because he's the most qualified person there, not to look at him and be like, he must have been the quota guy. That's hurtful to everybody.
Mark Andreessen tells this story about, I think it was Meta's board or something, when they were going through having to make sure that they worked within this regulation of board diversity or whatever, and that Peter Thiel actually qualified because he was gay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, for those of you who know Peter Thiel, like that isn't something he would want to qualify him for a board. Maybe it's because he's been one of the most successful angel investors in the history of American capitalism. You know? Right. It's like the idea that you could reduce somebody that successful down to like their sexual preference and be like, now you're qualified, is so fundamentally absurd and against like the idea of America.
But also just the action of reporting it back corporately.
Yeah.
You know, like I can understand wanting to get different perspectives on a board. Like that's what boards do. They want to get different perspectives. The boards exist because you don't want to be monolithic in how you think because you might miss something.
Yep.
So I get like, but that's what corporate boards do. I mean, if you're a public company, like that's what your job is. But then to have something like a DEI regulator where you're like, oh yeah, Peter Thiel, he checks the gay box. And then having a corporate structure where you actually have to report back
It's insane.
to be like, hey, we got a gay guy. And like, where does that go? And like, what constituency are you satisfying with that piece of, without knowing what it is that Peter Thiel has to say? Like, that's unreal.
Well, I think now we know the constituency. It is taxpayer-funded NGOs.
Yeah, well, turns out that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Well, they certainly used this to try to push it internationally and made everybody else sort of adhere to it and gave grants as a result of what their social engineering agenda would be, which is why they've run into a whole lot of trouble. Can't, oh no.
Oh no.
Oh. Anyway, they're not alone. Disney rebrands. This is according to Axios. Disney is changing its diversity, equity, and inclusion programs to focus more closely on business outcomes. Oh, wow. That's interesting. Shareholders must be taking a sigh of relief. Programs.
A business that wants to make money. Ludicrous.
According to a note sent to employees Tuesday, obtained by Axios, as part of the shift, sources tell Axios Disney is moving and changing its content disclaimers that it started releasing around certain titles in 2020. Like, I don't know what those are. We didn't cover them on the show. I'd love to know what those initial ones were. Like, content for Disney.
Yeah.
But remember 4 years ago?
Warning, there's 3 white guys.
Exactly. And there was this woman who was in the popular show, The Mandalorian. I watched it with our kids, and all of a sudden she tweeted something that the wokes didn't like. And so then all of it, she's not allowed to be on the show anymore.
She was a normal conservative. She was a normal American, and they ran her out for that.
They're also saying they're going to evaluate executive compensation with a new talent strategy.
This whole thing, so...
Hold on.
It's mind-boggling.
A talent strategy. You know what? I'm running a business. I'm considering, guys, just hold on.
Yeah.
I'm considering
How are
You
we
got
gonna
a
make
wild
money?
idea.
Whether or not this person has talent.
Yeah.
I know it's edgy,
Yeah.
but that might be the way we head with this.
Yeah. We're going to find good people.
What do you think? Do you think that's, too much?
I mean, that's the thing is like
Revolutionary.
it had gotten to this point where you have massive companies like Disney, who had this Kool-Aid that they drank that made them think that, number one, let's not try to make the best business outcome. Who here is trying to make money? We're a company, guys. What are you thinking? And then to be like, why don't we try to make sure that the person who gets the job is not the most qualified, right? Just that it won't trigger a trigger warning ahead of our programming that, oh no, there's been 3 white people cited during the filming of this TV show. And that now they're like, this is, for it to be considered a bold step that we're going to try to make our shareholders money. We're going to try to make our movies that actually make money. They're like, this is a radical change. Everyone, please grab your seats. Second point, we're going to hire people based on merit. It's mind-blowing. That's how crazy a period that Americans have endured, that businesses have endured. I mean, good for them. Honestly, I want to see this across the board. I want every company to be able to publicly say, listen, the bad times are over. If you're a qualified person, guess what? You get a job. And if you're a business, you're allowed to try and make money.
Yeah, I don't think people understand how pervasive and insidious all of this was and how organized it was. There are these nonprofits, these NGOs and groups that raised millions of dollars, a lot of them grants, from USAID and other things, that then put pressure on the HR departments of these large corporations to sign pledges on things, whether that's ESG or DEI or what have you.
Shakedown racket.
And what you got was the HRification of the entire company.
Yep. Yeah.
And nobody can really go to HR with a complaint about HR.
Right.
Right?
No, you can't. And the funny thing is I think on the right, as our whole party has become more working class, there has become a misperception about corporate America. Corporate America is and always will be entirely where the business is. They are not concerned about what you believe. They are not concerned about what you think. They're marketing products for you to buy that they think have value and they think you'll enjoy. And they're going to go wherever the culture is, no matter what. Where this took a turn is when a shakedown racket appeared, where they could corrupt a media that provided a direct info flow to you, the consumer, that was a negative connotation on their company if they didn't pay the toll.
Yep.
And that's where DEI came in.
Yep.
If you didn't incorporate a DEI program, there was an entire ecosystem, a cottage industry.
Boycotts.
That had a direct access to the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Associated Press, all your local news, everything you're seeing.
Protest outside your headquarters.
They would talk about big questions arise at HQ. And they're wondering whether or not they have your best interests at heart.
Right.
And that's why they started to do this, right? It wasn't like a cultural shift. It felt like one.
Yeah.
It really felt like
It was really
one.
successful.
It was really successful.
Yeah, but there's no difference between what they did and what the mafia does to run a protection racket.
There is no difference.
No
Whatsoever.
difference.
Except that in this case, some of it was funded by people listening to this show without their consent.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, but that's another reason why you got to keep at it, right? Trump is doing great things. Doge, all this stuff. I can't say I am like over the moon about the way that these first 3.5 weeks have gone, and you should be too. But you gotta stay plugged in.
Yep.
Because these folks, you can look at these rallies, dude. Look what they're trying to do. They are going to, at some point, latch into another shakedown racket. And you just have to say, no, I'm not doing it. Like, you just have to be steadfast as like, I know that this is not something, you've got lives, you got softball practice, soccer practice, you got all this stuff. But this is why you got to pay attention to this stuff, because we kind of took our eye off the ball for 3.5 years while they built this thing. And the next thing you know, every institution in America was just shoving a quota system down our throat. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's wild that it can happen in this country, but it did. Anyway, Wolf gave me the actual you know, when I asked what the content thing was, like that they're now removing.
Oh, in Disney?
Yeah, this is what this is what it is. They had a content advisory disclaimer on some of the show, like Dumbo.
Come on.
And Peter Pan.
The cartoons?
Yeah, that they warn that it, quote, includes negative depictions and or mistreatment of peoples or cultures.
Okay.
Dumbo.
Okay.
It might offend, what is it, the child donkeys who are getting drunk and smoking cigars in Dumbo? Like, really? Like
Child
this is
donkeys.
You remember them?
Yeah.
What was it? The, like, island where they're all just being
Island
bad
of
kids?
Misfit
When they're
Toys?
just trying to have a good time. Drink a couple beers, have a few cigars.
I mean, we're having such a good time. We might as well play a game.
Let's play a game.
Let's do it.
King of the Hill. It's Thursday. We got to get to it. Our defending champion is Holmes.
Yeah.
With the ultimate cheat code, Sherry Jacobus.
I think I'm going for what the Chiefs couldn't accomplish.
It's a three-peat?
Yeah.
Going for it.
And Ashbrook, you have our challenger. Who are you bringing?
Joe Walsh.
Joe Walsh.
Smoking Joe Walsh.
Okay. And Smug, you're judge and I'm bailiff.
That's right.
So let's go ringside.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. It's time for King of the Hill. In the red corner, fighting from who knows where, Smoking Joe Walsh. And now, in the blue corner, fighting from her own Twitter account, and current champion of the world, Tommy Cherry Jacobus.
It's so good every time.
Seriously.
Every time. And he gives a little more when he's playing.
Yeah, he throws a little, there's a little more diaphragm
Yeah.
to it.
He projects.
Yeah. No, it's great.
Okay, you're our defending champion. You have
So
to
I
go.
will go. I'm going to call up Exhibit 3. Exhibit 3 is Sherry Jacobus saying simply, it's hard to say goodbye, but there's no denying that your MAGA friends are now basically Nazis.
Good God.
She always takes it to 11.
Not Nazis.
There's
She
no
only has,
denying.
She just has one speed.
Dude, it's
just not fair.
It's just so good. It's like, yeah, no, they might vote a little differently on fiscal policy, or they may exterminate 11 million people.
She has one speed. That's why she's unfair in this game.
I mean, like, the first few words, you're like, where's this going? It's hard to say goodbye. And she's like, but you have to abandon all your friends.
Yeah.
They're now Nazis.
And family, whatever.
Where did that come from? Alrighty.
Ashbrook?
Okay. Spaghettis, can we have Exhibit 8, please? And we have Joe Walsh quote tweeting himself at almost 11 a.m. on February the 11th. He says, "Hey, MAGA, if you want to get rid of the Constitution, have the balls to say so." And what I'll tell you, Smoking Joe, is we do. We have big balls.
Big balls.
Is that a video he has there? That's what that is?
It looks like it's a 1 minute,
Yeah.
31 second video of himself that he's offering
Promoting.
people.
He's promoting a podcast or
And
something.
offering for his followers. Yeah, it's important.
I like it.
Well, there's
I mean, that's a good take, no
Nazis.
doubt. I think it might appeal a bit more to Duncan, who, if Duncan were judge, he's a big fan of like misuse of the internet, self-promotion kind of nonsense. But I just can't get over, yes, she has one speed and it's always 11. But to be like, it's hard to say goodbye to all your friends. Be a shut-in. It's just you, the cats, in a bomb shelter. Your friends are all Nazis now.
they're Nazis.
I got to give round one. Sherry Jacobus.
Every Democrat in the country is Anne Frank.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, what a wild take.
Hope you got a nuke there, Ashbrook.
Okay, Exhibit 13 from Joe Walsh. And Joe writes helpfully,
Oh my God.
I'll be on Substack with Acosta this afternoon at 4 p.m. Eastern. Come on over to Substack and check it out at the, quote, Jim Acosta Show, close quote. While you're there, hit me up with a subscribe. And then he has his Substack, Social Contract with Joe Walsh, /subscribe.
I love that. I appreciate it. The self-promotion is great. I feel a little guilty though.
Come on.
You think you gotta?
You have a nuke.
Yeah.
He has a nuke.
I just feel guilty about it.
I don't think you do. Not at all.
I don't, actually. Because 30 minutes after her take about how all Trump supporters are Nazis, she had Exhibit 4. The only Nazi, the good Nazi, is a dead Nazi.
Jeez.
So when she was saying it's time to say goodbye to your friends, she didn't mean just like via text.
No, she meant kill them.
And I don't want to, color the opinion of the esteemed judge here, but I appreciate that Holmes provided the 30-minute context there, which I think makes the take even better.
Yeah, because they're meant to be together. She knew what she was. Her suggestion is kill your friends.
Yeah.
Like, let's not make a mistake here. Like, Ashbrook, yeah, that's pretty nutty being like, yeah, I'm going to be on with the Costa already. This is going to be a trash heap. And then he's like, but also send me some money.
Yeah.
Normally, that's like a solid play.
It's a good, solid play.
But to be like, everybody kill your friends. Like,
you can't beat the queen.
I hate to do this. It's a second round knockout. Oh my God.
Who
will end the reign of Sherry?
Doing what the Chiefs couldn't.
Good God.
I think if we just
kill your friends, that's a you take.
No, honestly, the funny thing is I didn't want it because last week I literally thought it was the worst one that I've ever heard in this show, and we talked about it. And I don't like to be hyperbolic about King of the Hill, because King of the Hill, like, you get great stuff. It's hard to say this is the worst.
Yeah.
Kill your friends.
Yeah. I think we just got to find her one single friend. Just one other human friend. And then maybe she will stop posting so much crazy shit.
It's tough to get friends when you're like, there's a 50-50 chance I'll just kill you.
Yeah, I might ace you. Holy cats.
Oh, man.
Well, I appreciate it. Good game nevertheless. I'll continue to play another day with Sherry Masheri. Bad news, folks. Bad news. This is the only piece of bad news that we have on the program.
Oh, I hate to hear it.
There's a convenience store chain that's near and dear to the hearts of many of our listeners in the middle of the country. Come and Go.
Yes.
Spelled with a K. Yes.
It announced, according to the New York Post, that dozens of Come and Go convenience stores across several states are about to be rebranded. Mm-hmm. In my view, a massive mistake.
My mother listens to this. I can't believe we're covering this.
So
the first reaction is my mother listens to this.
Apologize to my mother.
But I do have a question. Are you saying they're just pulling out of the original branding?
Oh my God! You apologize to us, Mom. I simply read what Wolf provided me. No, it turns out
it's a real question.
I don't know if you guys have had this experience, but Come and Goes, they're not everywhere. Mm-hmm. But if I'm in a town and I see a Come and Go, I try to go in every single time.
You're like, I'm gonna come.
Do not come. No, it's
because you want to show that receipt to your buddies.
You do, because you'll exactly. You'll take a picture of the receipt and send it to your boys and be like, look where I'm at.
Yeah. And that's, for the women listening to this, it's just simply the fact that we could be 80, we could be 40. We're all still 12 in our hearts.
It turns out it was it's going to be completed by the summer of 25. The work is a continuation since Come and Go was acquired by a Utah-based. There you go.
Oh, okay.
Utah-based company. Yeah, I mean, they got morals and stuff.
Okay.
This company, Maverick, they're like, we can't have it. I'm pleading with the good people of Maverick. Listen, you don't know what you have. You don't know what you have here. Come and Go?
So
Come
can
and
stay.
Go. Are
you seeing the background info that Wolf gave?
Oh, my God.
It says you missed the background right here. Are you seeing this? The company was founded in 1959 by T.S. Gentle. Gentle's Come and Go, like how do you find this shit, dude?
Did you hear Ashbrook's?
No.
Yeah.
I wasn't paying attention. I was looking. There's a guy named Gentle who started this.
No, I get that, but he said you could come and go, or you can soak and stay.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
He was trying to do a Utah thing there. That's outrageous. I won't stand for it. I'm gonna
Regional
move
humor.
on. Regional humor. If you're from the area, you know exactly what we're talking about. You're probably offended by the whole segment, frankly. But
I apologize to Duncan's mother. That was just an out of control segment.
What are we supposed to do with that? You know,
It's a story. It's the New York Post.
Yeah, it's
Alexander Hamilton started the publication, for crying out loud. You got to cover it.
Yeah. No, it's an important publication. All right, so just remember, we have a question of the day, and you got to get involved. You got to like and subscribe. We're almost to 100,000, and this is the only way this poor man gets a plaque.
Yeah.
Is if you get
Do
if
it
you
for
just
us.
do that. So do it for Smug's living room, if nothing else. It's I understand it could use a little.
It's going right on the mantle.
It could use a little something.
Yeah, it needs it.
Yeah. So the question is for next Tuesday, in the moment of darkness, what's the best troll to make the experience the Democrats are having even worse?
Yeah. How to twist a knife.
How can you twist the knife? Listen, we got a lot of fans that are in the press office over in the White House that they may take your suggestions very literally. So, be thoughtful, but funny. So add that to it. While you're liking and subscribing, you might want to check out some merch. My understanding is that we're going to provide some new offerings. We've had some great ideas about new offerings lately that I think are going to blow your mind.
I can't wait for this one.
Yeah, there's one. There's one in particular that's fantastic. Hopefully we'll be able to announce that next week. And then remember, for those of you who are listening, they're going to be joining us for the live show next week. Thank you for buying tickets. I'm sorry we don't have a bigger venue. It, again, sold out very, very quickly, and we're sorry about that. We wish we could, just do this for thousands, but we got to, we did this in 2 weeks' notice. We want to, put it together quickly. There's going to be some great guests. People that have
hell of a lineup
formulated the vision of Ruthless. They've been on, you know them. I'm not going to give any hints, but you will be surprised and you will love every minute of it. But also know that this isn't our last one. We're actually going to pick up the cadence.
Yeah.
We're going to pick up the cadence. We're going to do this a little bit more. We're going to get back out there. We did, I felt like our 2019, or our 2021 rather, cadence was really good. And then, he sort of fell off a little bit. We're going to get back into the full cadence. You're going to get these all the time. So stay tuned. We're going to keep providing opportunities to do all that. And with that, I think we did it.
I think so. Absolute banger of an episode, gentlemen. Again, thank you so much to our listeners. Reminder, if you have not yet, it's more fun in video. Go to the YouTube, like, and subscribe. So until next time, minions, keep the faith. Hold the line and own the libs. We'll see you on Tuesday. Stay ruthless.